ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
The International Convention of Allied Sport Fishing Trades, aka ICAST. That's where we are this week, all the way through Friday, July 18th, God willing, because a few years ago when I came to this show, I spent the weekend in Orlando, Florida. The hottest place on earth. I know the kids say the happiest place on earth, but it is muggy down here, but we are having fun. Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, and yeah, and like I say, the cat's away. See, we are at ICAST. Myself, Jenni Ackerman, Matt Broderick from the Long Island edition, Dave Anderson in New England. The whole crew is here, and we're trying to find all the latest, greatest products being released this summer, this fall, and into the new year. So stay tuned for that as we come to you with bi-weekly reports beginning next week on the latest, greatest tackle from the world of fishing. We'll be running down the latest action from home this week. We'll share some photos and reports we've been getting from readers of the Fisherman magazine and our weekly viewers. And I think we could use a little bit of intel, perhaps, for the weekend. I'm not around. So hopefully there's something happening this week at the Jersey Shore, inland on all our freshwater streams and rivers and lakes as well. If there's one good solid tease I could give you this week, it's something that I believe I mentioned last week, but Dave Scholl at Absecon Bay Sportsman Center in South Jersey said it again on Monday while I was packing my bags. Quote, "This is absolutely the best flounder season I have ever seen in the 40 years I've been here at Absecon Bay Sportsman Center, so don't miss it." Flounder, of course, summer flounder, fluke, but when Dave's saying that, a lot of friends are saying the same thing. It's sometimes you really got to pick through it and find where they're sitting, but overall, summer flounder season at the Jersey Shore in 2025, fluke, has been pretty good, and I think it's only going to get better. We do have a true doormat tournament winner in this week's forecast as well. Now, in this week's digital weekly edition of the Fisherman magazine, the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition, the cover callouts once again yield the results of the past weekend and perhaps give us an indication of what to look forward to in the days ahead. The canyons are calling, yellowfin, bluefin, and big eye are chewing, and there's a mahi swarm a-brewing in this week's offshore report from Tom P. So yeah, some of those mahi are in as well. Maybe it's time to start looking for those eddies, those fingers that start coming in, and start working the mid-range pots, flotsam, jetsam as well. Our weekly feature lineup in this week's digital weekly edition. It includes a look at the needlefish plug by Tony Durso, Captain Scott Newhall. He talks about throwing a cast net, which is really a great tool to have, especially as you start getting into the fall run. John Raguso provides an overview of tuna jigs, which is very appropriate at this time because the tuna are taking the jigs at this point in the season. And Matt Broderick has tackle tips, providing advice on drag setting. That cover this week, you've seen it before. That's Jason Marty with Captain Mike Green with the 186-pound big eye that they caught in the Beach Haven Marlin and Tuna Club's annual Tuna Open tournament last month. Another image you may have seen recently. Congratulations to Captain Mark de Blasio and the Blue Runner team who landed this new Sterling tackle record big eye earlier this month, 280-pounder. That fell for the new Sterling Cedar Rain bar with a 9-inch zucchini cedar flex stinger. That big eye taped out at 75 inches. Bluefin tuna under that 73-inch max. They're around as well. There's a few overs in the mix, but some big, nice bluefin under the 73 are in play from pretty much, I'm almost going to say some of the inshore grounds, but think mid-range, think pizza joint is the way my buddy is saying it. The Italian place, that's where Ryan Shalaba got this 69-incher on an NLBN straight tail. He also lost one. That's why I say there's got to be bigger ones in the mix. That was a nice beefy bluefin that he caught at 69 inches, whipped it in 7 minutes, he said. But the one he lost that's straight in the NLBN jig head had to be a big one. Of course, I got to thank Ryan for the phone call. Tuna Express here a poke bowl full of tuna right before I left for ICAST. I saw a couple of white marlin were reported in South Jersey tournaments over the weekend. The South Jersey Tournament Open, that was over the weekend. Of course, offshore competitors are out in full force this week when the conditions allow. I know there were a bunch of boats out in the Jimmy Johnson Quest for the Ring AC tournament out of Atlantic City. There are 63 boats competing. The day I was leaving for ICAST, and see a bunch of boats were out on Tuesday. I think a lot of boats were out on Monday, but I did not see Michael Jordan's catch 23. And if I were to put some money down, I would say we're going to see some pretty hefty big eye coming in too. Especially good luck for those guys on Team MJ's, always out there for some big eyeballs. If you're heading offshore in search of tuna or billfish, perhaps wahoo, as I know I've gotten some reports there on the grounds as well. Don't forget about the tilefish. It's been a great box filler for guys who are going out looking for tuna, but doing a deep drop or two, making sure that they've got enough fish in the box to take home. Jared Morgan had Zane Laudermilch and his dad out on Sunday. Zane, 11 years old here, cranked up this 23-pound golden tile by himself. It's a lot of cranking and a lot of fish sandwiches. Weather-wise, if you're looking to get out offshore this week, obviously for most of this week you've been looking at windows to see where whether you're going to be able to sail or not from the Hudson to the Baltimore. But at this point, middle of the week, when I checked on Wednesday, it does look like you've got a pretty good window on Saturday. That looks like your best bet for sneaking out there again. And of course, we are now in the middle of the offshore tournament season in the New Jersey, Delaware Bay region. Inshore and surf, of course, this point in the summer, it's almost always all about fluke. And of course, that one black sea bass bycatch allowance in New Jersey. You've got that one fish, which actually is really cool. I call it a bycatch allowance because how many people are going out to target a single blackfish? You can to spice your catch, but what it does is as you're drifting for fluke at some of these reefs, wrecks, and snags, when you catch that single black sea bass, you're not throwing it back and contributing to the mortality, the discord mortality rate. So that's a pretty good idea. Of course, the fishing, the waters are warming up now, which is what's driving a lot of folks to go to those offshore wrecks, reefs, and snags. There are still plenty of fish in some of the back bays. You may have to move around a little bit, find some cooler water, get yourself a little bit closer to some of the inlets. But still a solid bay bite in many areas of the state. And again, cooler water, just got to find where those bait are sitting as well, or where those fish are piling on bait and where they're on the feed. But for sure, heading off the beach on nicer days will lend itself to a little bit of better action if you're looking for some keeper fluke, and of course variety as well. As I mentioned, Charlotte Granieri got herself this 21-inch flatty along with 7 shorts, a triggerfish, along with many sea bass on the family boat. This summer wind out of Cape May over the weekend, photo courtesy of a proud granddad, Steve. Sean Smith had a fantastic Saturday morning this past weekend near a church in Monmouth County for his first ocean fluke trip on his father's new center console Fishin' Fool 2. He said fishing was slow in the morning, turned on between 2 and 4 p.m., and then found a spot that was also holding a bunch of triggerfish, 10 keeper fluke, 6 triggers, 3 sea bass, and I guess a jar of tartar sauce on the way home. I wonder what color that church was. Maybe it was red. But again, we're starting to get some more reports on triggers. I know I saw Ralph Lair on the Last Lady out of Belmar. He's running trips and actually kind of focusing on some triggers. I talked to several head boat captains in the past week saying the same thing. So those triggerfish are around on those wrecks and reefs. Keep an eye out for them too, swimming around some of the inlet jetties or groin rocks where you have them. Surf fluke action on that topic of terra firma. Hot and cold, up and down, hit or miss. Some are doing better than others. Bev Masunis had a 22-incher at Island Beach Saturday morning away from the grass, outfished husband Ed. That has been a concern when you have some of these stormy conditions, when we have the high water in the back and that's rushing out and that's kind of washing off the marshes of the eelgrass. And you do deal with times where you've got to deal with the vegetation in the surf, just kind of work around it or find yourself some clean water. But Bev and Ed Masunas did find that the fish were feeding best right near the shore break. What they were doing is casting out their gulp and bringing it in, but right in the trough there at the shore break, just kind of jiggling that gulp a little bit. And I believe that's what worked for Bev's fish as well. So basically, if you're experiencing some of that grass and vegetation in the surf, sometimes you just got to work through it. Another good surf fluke this week comes by way of Steve Baserta, who caught this last weekend in Monmouth County while plugging. This 21-inch fluke took an SP minnow, similar to the one down off of Indian River Inlet that we shared for Eric Lewandowski last week. I had mentioned that Shell Karras does a lot of fishing seaside to Island Beach and fishes jerkbaits a lot, those artificials for fluke. Now this week, while hopefully you're fluking around up at the Jersey Shore, we're fluking around down in Orlando and trying to find all these great tackle tips and great new pieces of gear. But here's somebody with a tip on skinny water fluking back at home. It's Jenni Ackerman. Sometimes you gotta match the hatch. She's out there with Frankie Z from Grumpy's on this week's Open Boat.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's Open Boat. We are back with OG Frankie Z on the surreals, fluking in the river, and Frankie brought a secret weapon, the live bait. Remember Super Fluker Challenge round 3, catch a fluke on live bait. Frankie is on the board, and we got some fun bycatch too in the river. So stay tuned and come with us as we catch some fish. Frankie, your rod. Frankie, your rod. Oh, God. Oh, God. I saw that. I'm coming. I saw that in the corner of my eye. Wow. That's a good one. You want me to lip it? You got him? I can lip him if you want. You got him. It was hitting.
Run off. I should have it.
That would have been cool if it was a weak fish. I'd love to see one of those. Oh shoot, I just got a big munch. This might be a bass too. Ah, it's a fluky dookie. Wow. Calm down. That was good. That was instant. What'd you say? Yeah. My favorite is when you're fluking shallow and you just watch a fish chase it up and you're like, oh. Just shows you there's so much bait in the water. Might be snagged. It was indeed not a snag. I don't know, do you like follow the expression elephants eat peanuts? What, for fishing? I feel like it, yeah.
But as a rule though, you can only catch the bigger fish on bigger baits.
Yeah, I just got bumped. It's just a little feller. Let it go, Bubba. Thank you. Whoa. Yeah, that one ate the, I got the shrimps on. Frankie, look at this. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. It's definitely like microscopic. It's a little baby. It's a little fella. Can the rod see it? You can see it. He's still there. He's so tired. He's so tiny. He's just messing with it. Or it's a little sea bass, which I hope not. Yeah, he's still there. Just watch my rod. Blowfish, maybe? Oh no!
And the smallest one is very.
Oh! These are small fish. I'm whispering because I have to be focused. They're still nibbling.
Yeah, well, yeah, Joe said I'd take her out to do the boat. She's got it. She's in. She's in.
I told you they were small fish. I'm a psychic. There's a person looking out. That's so freaking cool. You think so? Very good. Three. I don't think so. It hit like a freaking Frankie. That's. Frankie, it's right here. I can't even see it. It's like under the boat. Whoa, I got two. I doubled up. It's my lucky day. And they're both shorts. I'm just too cool for school. I love that. I doubled up. Mail a letter with this one.
Now it's time for a Coastal Kayak Clash update. We had 2 entries that landed on the board this week. Todd Treyones landed a massive 17.25-inch porgy that now leads the category. And Dustin Stevens continued his barrage of quality fish by landing a second-place 34.5-inch bluefish. The top 3 now look like this. We now have Todd Treyones jumping into 3rd place with 5 points, Tom Howard holding steady in 2nd with 6 points, and Dustin Stevens remains at the top with 9 total points. Hey kayakers, the Fisherman's Coastal Kayak Clash contest is back. Win this fully outfitted Hobie Mirage Lynx kayak from Yak Attack along with other great prizes. Catch and release as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. To enter, you must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, fish from a kayak, and document your catch. Many chances to win great prizes, so get out there on the water now and fish hard. To be part of the action, you must be a subscriber and register at thefisherman.com. There were no new entries in the Dreamboat Challenge this week, so the leaderboard remains the same. In third place is Jeffrey Harrison with 17 points, Thomas Luciano with 17 points, and Rashawn Williams with 17 points. Are you the best angler in the Northeast? Well, now is your chance to prove it. The Fisherman's Dream Boat Contest is back. Win this Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha along with these other great prizes. Fish hard and weigh in as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. What's the catch? You must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine. All it takes is one fish on the board to win a great prize, so however you fish, you have a shot. For all the details and official rules, visit thefisherman.com.
In the famed waters of Panama awaits a fishing experience like no other. Tropic Star Lodge welcomes anglers to get in on world-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
Jenni and Frankie were fishing there at Manasquan for that video, by the way, and that exotic that we talked about last week, kind of quizzed you on what that exotic was that Adam Aguiar shot coming into Manasquan Inlet. I was at the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council meeting last Thursday, and I had that video on my phone, so I was showing it to a lot of Division of Fish and Wildlife workers, Jeff Brust and some of the scientists. There was a little bit of a split between, well, I think it might be a pilotfish, but I think it might be a juvenile banded rudderfish as well. Jeff Brust was kind of leaning towards the juvenile banded rudderfish. A lot of times, it seems to be a joke when somebody's in the wash and they catch something and say, somebody identify this fish. Everybody says, banded rudderfish. They do have stripes. The stripes are more pronounced the younger they are, like with a lot of species, and also more so in the water. But I've got a picture of that exotic that we didn't know what it was. And then there's two images underwater as well of the pilotfish and the banded rudderfish. You decide. It's one of those two species. I'm leaning towards the banded rudderfish, a juvenile. What was once thought of as an exotic species, for the most part, 25 years ago, was more prolific 100 years ago, and certainly it has been in the last few years, especially down into Atlantic and Cape May counties at the Jersey Shore, all the way down into Delaware, and that, of course, is Sheepshead. An incredible fishery, and it's worth trying wherever you might be, because I do hear some reports of a little bite up on Jamaica Bay. It was an area where I always thought it was prime grounds for sheepshead fishing when I used to fish up there many years ago, because there's a lot of old pilings, old marinas, old structure, and a wide open bay inside Jamaica Bay. And then you look, that's up in Queens County, in Queens, New York, and then just on the other side of the border, you've got Brooklyn and Sheepshead Bay. So I gotta think that those sheepshead are starting to make their spread throughout the range again. So it is worth taking a shot, even if you're up in North Jersey. If you're on the Raritan, if you've got a slack tide around some of that structure, give it a shot. Go to that July edition of the Fisherman magazine, the New Jersey Delaware Bay region edition. Take a look at Captain Qua Wynn's article on page 4. Give that a shot, because there's no telling where you might be able to put a crab jig down or a tog jig down with a piece of crab and maybe end up with one of those sheepshead, of course. And I would remind you that August 1st, that is when blackfish, that one fish bag limit, opens in New Jersey. That always seems to be a good time to be able to put down a crab jig, because you can end up with that one keeper tog and maybe get yourself a sheepshead as well. That's in the local edition, New Jersey Delaware Bay, but don't forget about the glossy content as well. Congratulations to Mattawan Mike Ramirez and his team taking top honors this past weekend in the Sandy Hook Bay Anglers 43rd Annual Fluke Tournament. Total of 68 boats competing in this event to support efforts to get our American veterans out on the fishing grounds. This 29-inch fish weighed in at 11 pounds. True doormat that was good for $3,000 in the top slot. I do believe there was a second doormat, just over 10, also weighed into that Sandy Hook Bay Anglers 2-day fishing tournament. I don't know if those fish are set up in the deep water and the Raritan at this point. That's worth a shot, but I do know that folks are getting out to that offshore structure, the snaggy bottom, looking for some of those bigger fish. Congratulations, by the way, as well to Edward Golden. He took the junior prize, a rod and reel combo for his 2.1 pound fluke. This Saturday, you have a whole bunch of fluke tournaments to choose from at the Jersey Shore. So if you're out there drifting and dreaming and you see a lot more traffic than normal, this is probably the reason why, because you've got the 30th annual Point Pleasant Elks Fluke Tournament, the Jersey Coast Shark Anglers, they're running their Fluke Fever event, the Raritan Bay Anglers back up on the Raritan Bay hosting their 35th annual Fluke Tournament, while Staten Island Tuna Club has their Richie Adio Fluke Tournament. And then, of course, down off of LBI, out of Beach Haven, you have the VFW 3729 Flukeathon. You can get the details on the screen if you want to write them down. But again, I will send you back to the July edition of the Fisherman magazine for our calendar of events. And of course, that appears every single week in our digital weekly edition. You can find more events by going to thefisherman.com, selecting topics, and looking under the events section. Now, in his weekly freshwater report, we post this every Monday. Every Sunday night, I'm compiling reports from all of our field editors, including J.B. Casper, our freshwater field editor. He said largemouth action has been good, top and down deep, especially around springs because of the warmer water. Smallmouth action has been strictly a whitewater sport in the rivers and streams. Crappie fishing, mainly an evening sport around the docks, while the catfish, of course, are dining at night as well. If you're looking for walleye, hybrid stripers, and reservoir trout, they're suspended in some of the thermoclines if you're getting out and about. Hopefully you made it through this nasty storm earlier this week. We'll see what happens with all those, all the high water conditions, but it should be good for the streams if you're looking to get out and doing a little bit of trout fishing. Richard Keppen, Tom's River, got himself a nice largemouth from around the docks with apparently the boat in the slip. I also did see where my friend George Shower, he was out by boat looking for stripers over the weekend. I'm not sure if he's going to talk about that, but he will talk about all the freshwater action in the Poconos and throughout the Garden State in our Pocono Outdoors Guy's weekly fishing report.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. In all the recent rains we've had has this water a bit high, stained and muddy, so bass fishing, largemouth, smallmouth can be pretty tough. A couple of tips that may help you guys get through that. Use baits that are loud with a lot of vibration that may help you get a little more bites. You know, things like a rattle trap that has vibration and sound that can get a draw a strike, a reaction strike as you're on that retrieve. Look at some other baits like a chatterbait, which is going to do really good as well. Makes a lot of noise, a lot of vibration. Even a spinnerbait, one of those big old Colorado blades on the back of it's going to give you a lot of that real heavy vibration that you can feel, that thump during the retrieve. Again, that's going to get you a lot more strikes in this high muddy water that we've dealing with recently. But a couple fish are really doing good. We had Eric Fissler check in. He was on the Delaware River. He was out catching some stripers. They've been having a lot more success than some of the other fish in the Delaware right now. Even Tim Keebler checked in. He was out getting some of his guests on striper. He said the water is about 2 feet high and pretty muddy coming down the river there. He said the smallmouth weren't doing real well, so he headed for the stripers and they started producing. I even had a chance to get out this past weekend with a couple of guys. Will Gropper and X invited me up to Wallenpaupack, do a little striper fishing there, and we had quite the epic day on the lake. You know, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. I managed to get on a couple of them myself. We even had one epic moment where all 6 rods went off all at once. We managed to land 5 of those 6 on the boat, but it was a really good mix of both pure strain and hybrid stripers up there on Wallenpaupack. Big thank you again to Will and X for helping me out there. We'll have some tips on how we fish those stripers in the Sweetwater coming up soon. But for now, guys, I hope you get out, try to take some of these tips and get on the water yourself, and we'll see you next week. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors Guy.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
I mentioned to you last week that I'd be at that Thursday meeting of the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council in Stafford Township. It was at the firehouse. I was the only one there from the public. So that big, huge spread of food and the steak and the chicken and the oysters and all that, the whole buffet was all for me. I'm kidding. I don't even think there's a snack machine at that firehouse. But more importantly, just as I mentioned, there will be a regulatory update on cobia at some point this season. The state of New Jersey didn't structure the limits exactly the way they're supposed to be. What they're supposed to be is that 43-inch minimum size, and it's 1 cobia per angler, 2 per vessel. But 1 per person, 2 per vessel. So if you're on your own boat, you don't get 2, you only get 1. There's 2 or 3 people on the vessel, it's 1 per person, but then the max is only 2. This should take effect sometime soon. It always seems like when we're getting a lightening of the restrictions, if somebody's loosening restrictions, like for example, speckled trout, that usually takes, about 8 years. But when they put a restriction in place, that's usually in a matter of, let's say, 8 days. So keep an eye on that. But if you want to be a legal, it's 1 per person, 2 per vessel, 43 inches. Although Captain Mike Smith of Never Enough out of Avalon, he emailed me on Tuesday. This, no question, 7 inches over the minimum size limit, a 50-inch cobia, 50 inches. That was for Tommy Williams fishing there on Never Enough. That was taken on live bait. That big cobia weighed in at 35 pounds. One discussion that was also had at the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council, and it's getting ready to rear its head again. I took some short notes that are on the screen if you want to look over those, but it's striped bass. And once again, we're back into that discussion on striped bass. Brandon Harrison gave a quick update on where we stand at this point, but the bottom line is the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission is looking at the fact that the 2024 MRIP numbers, Marine Recreational Information Program, during the tracking of the season, they were thinking everything was in line, but as they look at the total numbers now, they're saying, wow, you guys caught more striped bass than we thought. So, Brendan Harrison, Division of Fish and Wildlife Fisheries Biologist, breaking down what we're facing at this point with those new MRIP tallies from 2024. It indicates that the commission, ASMFC, will be looking at the fact that now there's only a 30% chance of us hitting the rebuilding deadline of 2029 and that goal to reach the highest biomass of spawning striper biomass since 2003 or whatever it is. So now we only have a 30% chance, which that's going to trigger some type of action at the ASMFC. So when they meet again in August, which that meeting will be on August 6th, once again, they're going to be looking at the potential of seasonal closures. Not entire season, but closing down a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it's going to take to get us back to at least a 50% chance of rebuilding striped bass in time for that 2029 deadline. What they're going to do is they're talking about putting us in a region, New Jersey and Delaware, putting us in a region that also includes Rhode Island or maybe Connecticut, and then implementing regulations that could have a split. Take a little bit from the spring and a little bit from the fall. So we're going to go back to those no harvest or no target discussions. That'll come August 6th when the ASMFC meets again, and then they're going to start a bunch of public comment periods. That's going to take place sometime in the fall. So expect to talk more about striped bass as a community come this fall. But I would remind you this, if you look at this little chart, A is the rebuild threshold back in 1995, and C is where we are today. So A is when we celebrated, yay, the rebuilding of striped bass. C is exactly where we are today, which is exactly where we are in 1995, and now it's all doom and gloom. But the bigger number there is that B, that big peak, because that's where we're going to need to be by 2029. Plenty of conservation-minded gear here at ICAST. Just getting ready for another day at ICAST, taking a look at the new products. Yeah, I'm just gonna spend a little bit of time poolside at my hotel before going out. Don't you do that? Do the same thing? Starting next week, you'll see an intro video that's coming out on Monday with your latest reports in the next digital edition for next week. On Monday, we'll give you a little intro and a little flavor of what we're seeing here at ICAST in Orlando. And then starting next Thursday, and then twice a week, every Monday and Thursday, we'll start bringing you a brand new product. Some of them are out now. Some of them will be out later this season and into the fall, and a lot of products in time for Christmas and 2026. You can check that out starting on Monday. Catch him up. I will be back, Lord willing. 2 years ago, I spent all weekend living out of the Orlando airport. I don't expect that this year because I expect to be fluking around with all of you guys this Saturday morning back at the Jersey Shore. Catch him up. See you again next week. thefisherman.com.